Good morning, everybody. This is Jack Gleason with MajorLeagueTrading.com. It is January 15th, 2019, 8 o'clock in the morning Central Standard Time, 9 a.m. East Coast. And this is a reminder to follow your rules and trade your plan. This is the Major League Trading Morning Trade Plan, and we're going to begin it with the economic reports for the day. Tentative, we are going to have the Brexit vote at some point here today. I'm not even sure. It might have already happened. Before the bell at 8:30, PPI, and then the New York Empire State Manufacturing Index. After the bell at 10 a.m., ECB President Draghi will be speaking. And at 1 p.m., FOMC member George speaks. At 4:30, we're going to have the API crude oil stock. Also, guys, we are now into earnings season. Yesterday, we had Citi. Before the bell, Delta Airlines, JP Morgan, United Healthcare, and Wells Fargo. After the bell, United Airlines. And then tomorrow, we have before the bell a bunch of different banks. That's Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, PNC, Schwab, USB, BlackRock. So earnings is going to be a factor moving forward. Apple's going to be the big one next week on Tuesday. And then also we got Netflix Thursday after the bell, which will affect the NQ. So just pay attention to those as we come in. They'll be listed here every day. Our trend bias for the day is neutral in the ES, bearish in the NASDAQ, neutral in the Dow, and the Russell is bearish. Overnight, bullish ES, bullish NASDAQ, bullish on the Dow, and neutral on the Russell. On the shorter term time frame, the S&P is bullish, the NASDAQ is bullish, the Dow is bullish, and so is the Russell. On the midterm time frame, neutral ES, neutral NASDAQ, neutral Dow, and neutral on the Russell. And on the longer term time frame, we do remain bearish in all four of the indexes. Moving on now to our previous day's summary for the S&P 500. This is the chart here for the information I'm about to go over. The bell-to-bell high right up above us, 25.89.75, with the bell-to-bell low down near S1 at 25.70.75. The settlement was 25.80 half. Value area high here all the way up at 25.86 half. Value area low 25.79. The point of control came in at 25.83 half for the prior day, and value European close 25.80.75. Volume on the session pretty light, 1,158,000 contracts. And then our overnight high 2,600 quarter, overnight low 25.80. Our floor trader pivot point support and resistance levels, R4A all the way up at 26.18 half, R3 26.09, R2, which we touched in the overnight session, 25.99 quarter. The pivot point for the day, 25.80 quarter. S1 at 25.71, S2 25.61 quarter, S3 is down at 25.52, S4A 25.42 half. And then the 10-day range analysis, the previous day, 19-point range, guys. That is, once again, really tight here. Our median's been 35. The entire session at a 24.75 point range. Median's been 36. Overnight, 24.75. Median's 25.75. And then the first hour, 14.5. So continue to have range contraction. We're moving sideways here over the last few days with tighter ranges. Index strength percentage change. The NASDAQ was the weakest market, down a full percentage point. And the Dow actually led the way, only down 0.35%. Still, all four markets did close negative on the prior day, with the NASDAQ and the Russell being the weaker side of things. Over the last 5 days, we are up the largest percentage change in the Russell and the least amount in the NASDAQ. But we do have positive returns on a 5-day, 10-day, and 15-day period for all four indexes. Moving on to some of the levels that we can pay attention to and a couple of things. I'm going to start off with oil and gold. We'll start off here with gold because we've come back down into this higher time frame support one more time here, guys, in the overnight session. This 1288 level, which is the 50% retracement from Friday's low, January 4th, to the high of the 9th. We pulled back on that Thursday. We rallied into our 1295 resistance level, pulled back again, rallied into our resistance level again, and then we've had one more test here in the overnight session, which took out the prior lows but got another bid. There was actually a 50% retracement short going into the overnight session that completed on those lows, and that next measured move failed to hold, so we failed to continue lower. Instead, we retested once again that 1288 support. We caught a pretty aggressive bid here in the last hour. So this is going to be something to pay attention to, the fact that we just continue to have buyers holding their bids at that 1288 level. This eventually will have an upside profit target, assuming we continue to hold above these levels at 1302, which takes us above the current high of the year. So that is definitely something to pay attention to here going into the day. This is a really nice reversal candle that we had in the last hour, and I'm going to be paying attention to a full 50% retracement off of that low. There is an aggressive extension series holding on right here. If we do complete this off the open at 1294, we can look for a same anchor new high, but right now I'm not really interested in an extension sequence just because it's such a smaller time frame unless we complete. But the full halfway back long from the overnight low to high is definitely a level I will be paying attention to, and that level is 1290. So if we can patiently wait for that pullback there, that would be something I am interested in as a potential long situation. Oops, I accidentally hid that drawing. And there we are. All right, so that level I'm going to set an alert. It's 1290 here in the gold market. Now to oil. What I'll be looking for is a completion. Now we have this extension that began on the 26th of December, high to high. The 1519 50% retracement remains untested. There is a 5093 support level that's at the 38% retracement, and we've really just been spending some time. We did catch a bid off it on the first test in the Sunday night session. Then we just consolidated around that level, and then once again we still have not hit that 5019, but this last rally was basically to the tick off that 5093. So one of the first things I'll look for here this morning is a completion of that upside profit target, and that is at 51.55. If we complete that profit target, I will then look for the next move. So I will draw that low to high for potential entry there in the oil market. So take a look at that. Moving on now to the Nasdaq. The extension here, so we are still inside of this extension, and we've been consolidating back and forth for some time now. We have been inside this. We initially traded it on Thursday of last week. We had the test of the 50% retracement at the open yesterday, which is where the Nasdaq got a bid. It was the only level to trade down into that 50% retracement. It was also the weakest market. So, because it was the weakest market, it was getting closer to our support. We caught a rally off of that, and that was like one of the better trades that set up yesterday. Now, in the overnight session, it was interesting how we closed, because as soon as we rallied off of that 50% retracement, we broke above these overnight swing highs, and that next pullback was a valid setup. So we didn't end up actually touching those levels here until the overnight session, and we pierced them going into the close. However, we ended up completing those profit targets, and we're right in the middle of the range. So being in the middle of the range, I'm really not interested in playing a sequence here until I can see a sequence that is in play. So we have the prior day's low to high holding its 50% retracement. However, we've already had 1, 2, 3, 4 tests. So for 4 hours, we have been a bid on this 50% retracement. This upside profit target would be 66.25 on a completion, but I want to see it break above the opposing short. There's also, from the overnight high to low, there's a short getting sold into. So we have a conflicting series going into it, which is until one of them begins completing. That to me is like a range bound setup, which in range bound setups, I'm not necessarily looking for negative 23% profit targets. It's just about trading support to resistance, and that's something you're going to want to keep in mind. Now, if we open this morning and begin completing down to the 65.54, we will then have a completion of the short sequence, and we can look for the next measured move if internals continue to remain bearish into the open. So that'll be something. I'm going to leave both these draws up, and we'll see which one either we're going to break the short or we're going to break the long, and then we can look in the direction of the trend off the open. For the Dow, the extension is the same. It's from the 28th, the high to high. The 50% retracement initially traded on the 10th of January. We had a retest of the 38% retracement on Monday, and the Dow came closest to a completion here. The completion would have been 24,108, and then what I'd like to do is just really pay attention to where that same annual high lines up. I'm just gonna mark up this 38% retracement. Okay, and that's 23,796. There very well might be a whole new set of buyers there off the open, but I am going to leave the draw where it initially originated because that target is technically unfilled. The high of the overnight session was 24,068. The target was 24,108. So, a solid 40 pips or ticks away from completing that profit target. And then in the overnight session, you also had, shorts out of the highs, just like the Nadex, shorts out of the highs getting sold into. So I'd like to draw that next high to low just for reference. If the bears are going to come in, they're going to hold it below 23,910 first thing this morning, and that would drive us back down towards the lows of the range. But we did make a new high here in the overnight session in the Dow. And then just to remember, guys, the full halfway back shorts from the highs of 2017 is up at 24,209, which is really, I think a lot of traders are waiting for that level. We're not the only people looking at that full halfway back short. It does seem like there is some sellers from the high of November to low, because that's like really where we've been resting at back and forth, 23,860, and we're trading right at that level as I speak. So if we start breaking down, that could be where the sellers are just front running this full halfway back short. For the S&P 500, the S&P 500 made a slight new high in the overnight session. Going into the close, we had this halfway back long for the day trade at 25.78.5, and really in the morning, once again, we came down into that 38% retracement before the open. This 25.68.5 level caught a bid, and then there was this halfway back right at the open that completed profit targets, and then our next measured move failed to complete, and then at the end of the day we came full halfway back. So it was really a day of, we had one completion in the morning, but that, halfway through the day we did not complete that move. What I'm going to be looking for here in the morning is, do we continue to stay above really the support zones from the prior day? I'm going to draw up this short because we were sold into in the overnight session. And if we continue to get sold into the next move, I'm going to do the full halfway back short. Bulls need to get back above 25.92 to take control. Otherwise, it's really just the middle of the range, and it's going to be a more difficult trade because you don't have a higher time frame setup here. You don't have a fresh touch. Like yesterday, we had a fresh touch of 68.5, and we got a nice 20-point move off of that level. But right here, we are right in the middle of this range. This halfway back at close here yesterday is going to be a level we'll see if we can hold above, but right now going into the day, there's not a strong bias for me in either direction. I'm going to have to see what the market wants to do off the open. And then finally, the Russell, which was on the weaker side of things, did not make a new high. The Russell's been leading here too. The Russell has been leading on our way up, and yesterday we failed to get above the high. We failed the gap fill. That gap fill from last week is still at 1447.8, and the current hourly sequence, our 38% retracement is 1425. If you draw that to the new high, that's where I get this 1429.4. So if we do check lower and take out the prior day's low, it's going to be very important that the Russell holds these levels. Guys, if we start seeing heavy selling pressure, which I don't think we will see today, it is very possible that we get much deeper pullbacks here. But that will be something that the market will tell us it wants to do at the open. Right now, we're holding in the middle of the range. There's no reason to be super bullish or super bearish right here. We now have a completion in oil, so that next measured move is valid here, 51.29. So we have a completion, 51.29 is a valid move. 12.90 is a valid move here in gold, and the rest of these markets are are basically retests. So the first things I'm going to be looking for here in the morning is, do we hold the short sequence from the overnight session, or do we break above? And then if we break above, we will reconfirm longs and can begin looking long. If we hold the lows we've been holding over the last 3 days, eventually we will complete these higher time frame upside profit targets. And the S&P, that's all the way up at 26.14, and the full halfway back short doesn't come into play until I think it's 26.25 or 20. I'll have to double check the level, but we don't have really good positioning for either bulls or bears going into the day. So it's going to be a little more of a choppy day based on where we're currently trading, and I recommend being cautious and pick your spots. And I would not be looking for any target that's more than 2 times the size of the hourly ATR. And right now, the hourly ATR in the S&P is 5.25 points. It'd be 10.5 points would be like the largest move I would want to go for here, because it's just not providing that much movement up and down. But that's going to wrap up my morning trade plan here. Thank you for watching the Major League Trading Morning Trade Plan. If you enjoyed this content, please give this video a thumbs up. And make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you're serious about learning how to trade, check out our MLT Pro Trader course, where we dive into all of the strategies that we use. And remember, guys, when it comes to trading, pursue with passion, remove self-doubt, and succeed with effort. Everybody have a fantastic trading day. I will catch the MLT members in the Major League Trading Morning Power Hour, where I will be live for the next hour until 9:30. Everybody take care and have a great day.